Hi, thanks for joining us at the Behavioural Software Club. I'm Andy Brown, and today we're going to be looking at why do we end up with too much technical debt. Now, many companies complain that they have too much technical debt, but at the same time they're running a project that's adding even more technical debt, and they don't see the irony in this. So, why do we end up with too much technical debt? Well, the first thing to understand is that technical debt is not a technical problem, although it sounds as if it should be. After all, it's even got the word technical in there. However, it's really about how we make trade-off decisions. The second thing to understand is that technical debt is not necessarily a bad thing. Just like financial debt, it can be either good or bad. Taking out a car loan so you can get a better job in another town may be a good thing. And technical debt is similar. It lets you build software you couldn't otherwise build. Now, another thing to recognise is that technical debt is never created in isolation. No developer ever gets up in the morning and says to themselves, I'm going to write a whole mountain of technical debt today, just for the fun of it. However, so long as we treat our technical debt problem in this way, we'll never resolve it. So, if technical debt is not a technical problem, then what is it? Technical debt is simply the outcome of a decision. More specifically, it's the outcome of a trade-off decision between costs and benefits, between current and future. It's the classic vice versus virtue dilemma that we humans have faced for thousands of years. Okay then, if technical debt is the consequence of a trade-off decision, why do we have too much of it? Well, to answer that, we need to understand how we make those decisions. Now, if I placed a tub of strawberry ice cream and a bar of chocolate in front of you, then asked you to choose, you're able to do this. So clearly, we have a mechanism inside us that enables us to make decisions. But where does it come from and what did we use it for? So here, we need to look back into our evolutionary past. So, our ancestors often had to make decisions, and some of those decisions were critical ones, made in the face of grave and immediate life-threatening risks from predators or adversaries. Other decisions may have been around fleeting opportunities, like hunting prey. And it was important that we had an effective mechanism for dealing with those decisions. Now, typically, those decisions would have had the following characteristics. Firstly, they needed to be made quickly. That threat or opportunity, it was imminent. Secondly, it needed to work reliably under a wide range of conditions. In particular, it mustn't lead to the occasional disaster that was fatal for us. Decisions often involve many variables. Decisions, they were made under conditions of uncertainty. Often, we didn't know how strong or aggressive an adversary was, or how likely they were to attack us. Maybe the information was of dubious quality. Maybe it was incomplete, ambiguous, or misinterpreted. Or maybe it was part of a deception. Also, we have limited cognitive resources available for decision making, and we need those same resources to keep an eye on the threat and formulate a response. So, we can conclude two things from these characteristics. Firstly, if decisions needed to be made quickly, sometimes in fractions of a second, and without loading our cognitive resources, the decision process must take place in our subconscious mind. Our conscious mind's just too slow for that kind of stuff. Secondly, if decision making involves juggling lots of complex variables, plus uncertainty and assessing poor quality information, then almost certainly we're dealing with some sort of simplifying heuristic. Now, when we catch a ball using the gaze heuristic, we don't concern ourselves with velocity, wind resistance and gravity. Instead, we simply focus our eye on the ball and note if its position relative to us changes. And similarly, the heuristic for decision making will focus on one simplified measure. So what is this heuristic and what's that simplified measure? The heuristic is called the Affect Heuristic. It uses our current emotion to guide us to a decision. Have you ever walked into a room of people and instantly sensed something was wrong? Maybe the room went quiet. You may not have been conscious of exactly what was wrong, but you certainly sensed instantly that something was wrong. So, evolution has equipped us with this brilliant heuristic, which works instantly, copes with poor quality information, works under a wide range of conditions, and leaves our mind free for thinking about other things, whilst we reach out for that tub of strawberry ice cream. So, why do we end up with too much technical debt? Well, recall, our affect heuristic uses our current emotion to guide us. If a decision has several options, then we'll select the option that has the greatest impact on our emotion. If instead of placing a strawberry ice cream and chocolate bar in front of you, I'd placed a strawberry ice cream and a salad, the chances are you would have selected the strawberry ice cream. Now, this is because strawberry ice cream touches our emotions, but salad doesn't, at least for me. And so it is with technical debt. Let's suppose we're deciding between whether to add a new feature and incur some technical debt, or forego that feature and avoid that debt. What are the characteristics of those two options? Well, the characteristic of a new feature are it's immediate, it's definite, and it's concrete, or as concrete as software ever gets. In short, it appeals strongly to our emotions. But what about the characteristics of technical debt? It's in the future. That's when we repay it. It's uncertain. We don't know how or when we'll repay it, if ever. And it's abstract. It's just some lines of code. So, in short, it doesn't really touch our emotions. Now, the characteristics of the two sides of this trade-off are very different. The benefits of the new feature appeal strongly to our emotional self, but the costs of that technical debt, they barely register. Hence, it's unsurprising that, in this trade-off, technical debt suffers badly. So, how can we address this? The first thing to realise is that we need to address our emotions, either trying to reduce their influence where excessive, or increasing them where insufficient. Also note, technical debt occurs in the future, so we can project ourselves into that future. We can use a technique like a pre-mortem. We work out a possible future consequence of taking on some technical debt. Perhaps an important project can't go ahead because technical debt code is in the way and must be paid down. This happened quite often when I worked at HMV. Now, just like in a pre-mortem, paint people a scenario where they're tasked with completing that future project, but have this technical debt in the way. Get them to imagine the options they'll try. Then close down each option, telling them they're impossible. As they struggle with the problem, get them to examine how they feel. Then ask, are you sure you want to take on this technical debt? The second thing you can try is to bunch up your decisions about adding new features into a single session. This is the healthy lunch problem. If you eat lunch every day in a company canteen, you may well start the week fully intending to have at least 2 healthy lunches. But each day you walk into that canteen, study the menu, then choose a less healthy option. However, if you plan out your week's meals, bunching up all your decisions into one session, you're far less likely to select 5 unhealthy options. And similarly, if you make a series of individual trade-off decisions about features versus technical debt, then technical debt will lose each of those individual decisions. However, by bunching them up, technical debt will win some decisions. A third option is a Ulysses contract. Now, this is a freely made decision designed to bind ourselves in the future when our decision-making capabilities may be impaired or distorted. They're often used in living wills, intended to carry out the future wishes of a person likely to become incapacitated. We can use Ulysses contracts to address problems of making decisions in circumstances like an overrunning project, when our decision making is impaired and we're sorely tempted to take on unwise amounts of technical debt. For example, we could set up an advance directive at the beginning of a project, so we can only take on technical debt if project money is set aside to later pay down that technical debt. To recap, technical debt is not a technical problem. Rather, it's a problem about how we make trade-off decisions. The technical debt problem exists not because the arguments for avoiding technical debt lack rationality, but rather because they lack emotion. If you want to address your organisation's level of technical debt, then you need to understand how you make decisions, then alter how your different decision options influence your emotions. This is a very tricky problem, one you cannot solve in a 10-minute video. If you're serious about reducing your level of technical debt, set up some workshops to do this. If you need help to do this, contact me. I'm happy to help. The Affect Heuristic influences far more in software than just technical debt, and in some other sessions we'll look deeper into this. If you've enjoyed this session, please give us a thumbs up on the link below. And if you're interested in this topic, please hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.